Thank you.
And I'm always the one that has to stick to the script, so. You know, Gurudas is in a world of his own.
This David Bowie, everybody's looking at the camera, David Bowie and Lulu, and I'm like this.
This is what made us such a balanced team in those days. There were 6 of us, and each one of us had different personalities and different abilities, and we all just seemed to mesh and get things done in a very special and high-powered way. And tonight's theme being Prabhupada's appearance in UK, we arrived nearly a year. We struggled here before Prabhupada came. And we talked about it the other night, what kinds of expectations we had for Prabhupada. We didn't want him to come until everything was perfect, until he could come and be the king of this England, the king of England. We wanted him to appear in a royal way. So we prepared with that spirit in mind. We had to refuse him to come. Many times he sent us letters, I want to come next week.
We didn't have a place for him.
We wrote back saying, don't come, Srila Prabhu. Now, the relationship you have with your spiritual master is the most valuable thing you've got. So, to deny that and say, no, you can't come, Srila Prabhupada, was the hardest thing we could do, in a way. But we knew that when Prabhupada had that special smile on his face of high achievement, that was more precious than any other aspect of his personality. When he didn't have to struggle, when he could just be free to speak and mix with the people of England, we wanted to help create that situation. We struggled for a year to create it before it happened.
Yeah, and we were even living apart in different places, Clapham and Brixton. I remember Jamuna didn't like the reggae music that played all night. We lived different places, so we couldn't ask him to come until we had something suitable place. Prabhupada's formula for things is people, land, apartment, building, a place, people, place, and Lakshmi. So we needed to have that in place before we could dare to call him.
So by the time Srila Prabhupada came, the 1 year wasn't really that long. I mean, it seemed like an eternity to us, but things happened so quickly. But just to set the scene, by the time Prabhupada came, he came in September 1969. We came also in September 68, so 1 year exactly. By the time Srila Prabhupada arrived, he was being picked up. He was being interviewed at the airport when he arrived by more than 50 reporters from all the major tabloids and newspapers, communications in British Isles were there to interview him. It was probably the most important interview he ever gave. And directly from there, he was whisked into a Rolls-Royce limousine driven by one of the most famous men in the world, chauffeur. And kind of a funny story about that. We were someone was supposed to go with him. Even his servant didn't get in. Prabhupada got into John Lennon's car alone in the back seat and took off. And we thought, God, I hope the driver knows where to take him. But we all madly scrambled for our cars and drove madly out to Tittenhurst Estate where he was being delivered. And when we got there, Prabhupada was standing in the driveway with his luggage beside him, alone. Saying, oh, as if he was greeting us to his place.
It was always like that anyway. Did I tell the story? I might have told it, but in Vrindavan, I was saying, okay, all devotees line up for the bus, and Prabhupada started to line up like that photo. So I said, Prabhupada, we have a car for you. He says, am I not a devotee? So that's his thesis.
So anyway, so Prabhupada arrived in style. He lived in a manor, the Cadbury estate in Buckinghamshire, I think, near Ascot, the poshest district of Great Britain, in a mansion with his dearmost devotees. We had a huge, it used to be the gallery or, I don't know, recital hall for the estate, and we converted it into a temple room, had it ready for Prabhupada. And when he came with it, the podium was there. You got a picture of it? Yeah, there's this picture was the Beatles' last photo shoot for their last album a week before Prabhupada arrived out at John Lennon's estate. And this room behind them became the first Hare Krishna temple. 1 week later, it was a Hare Krishna temple. There it is. That's it. That's inside it, with Prabhupada up on the podium.
And these were the servants' quarters, so it was appropriate.
This is where we all stayed in what was the servants' quarters.
But they were the das on the das.
And the one that Paul is standing in front of became Prabhupada's room a week later.
Yeah.
So he had a great place to live, and at the same time, our record, the Hare Krishna Mantra, was in the top 15 songs in the nation. So every day, from the day Prabhupada arrived, millions of people were hearing the Hare Krishna Mantra all over the island. Not only that, but we were on television, Top of the Pops. 1 week after Prabhupada arrived, we were on national TV chanting to the nation. Gurudas, he and Mukunda.
Here it is, Top of the Pops.
There it is, the Top of the Pop show. Yeah.
We remember when they, I think we told that story.
I think this is, I'm not sure, but it might be the Govinda. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So we knew that Prabhupada, being a man of action, wanted to speak, and here we were stuck 40 miles out of London. So we had to arrange all of these programs in London because he had never seen London, only in his mind as a child growing up. So the second day he was in town, we took him to London to show him the Berry Place Temple. At that time, Berry Place, we had just acquired it, and we didn't even really have planning permission yet, but we were myself and another team was working day and night down at Berry Place. Gurudas was in charge of things at Tittenhurst and organizing programs. He and Mukunda set up many programs. We'll get to that, Conway Hall and stuff. But to go back to that trip, Prabhupada's first trip into London, in John Lennon's Rolls Royce, we came across, is it Westminster Bridge there by the Houses of Parliament? Is that the name of that bridge? And Prabhupada looked down. We said, Prabhupada, that's the Thames River down there. And he looked. But it is only a small canal. Then we passed Big Ben, and we said, that's Big Ben. And the Houses of Parliament, he said, but they're so small. And Westminster Abbey, then Buckingham Palace, and one of his comments that I recall was, we have many places, many homes in Calcutta bigger than this. His childhood vision of London was much bigger. He saw how small everything was.
And it went on, because it's true, he had a grandiose hub of the world. That's why he wanted us to come here in the first place. But as he lived here, the weather was cold. First time in New York, he never saw snow. And he was a chemist, a pharmacist. He saw, why are people throwing lye off the roof? At any rate, then we'd be walking, and he'd say, just see, They're renting out this building before it's even finished. That's the sign of a poor economy. He said, this is an economy, coal and potatoes. That was his little adage from the grandiose vision for when he was actually walking in the park here.
Yeah, in the same vein, he saw the estate, the giant estate he was living on, and we told him that it was the Cadbury chocolate estate. He said, similarly, he said, just see, they took all the money from India and built these palaces.
Yeah.
The daily schedule at Tittenhurst was, first thing, a walk in the morning around these grounds, and 85 acres of manicured gardens. The previous owner had been one of the founders of the British Horticultural Society, so the place was, even though a bit run down, it was filled with these exotic kinds of plants and shrubs from around the world. There was even a little grove of California redwood trees.
Every kind of tree that could grow was on the ground.
You guys, in the mornings, I don't know, when everyone was still waking up and going, after morning program and before breakfast, I would go over there to that redwood grove and pretend I was back in California.
Yeah, that's true. When you even hug a tree, they say, but when you hug a redwood, they have this soft bark and it has a color like, I lived in redwood country.
I know you did.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So it was a beautiful estate. Did I tell the worm story on John Adams? Yeah, so that was the morning walk.
Tell it again.
Really?
Yeah.
Everybody heard it.
Okay. I've got a story on from a morning walk.
Good. And then I go.
Okay. As we walked down the path one day, Prabhupada saw these holes that were dug with piles of dirt beside them. Half a dozen holes. We were helping the landscape property, so these were probably for shrubs or something. And he said, just see, this is material culture. This is material civilization. Digging and piling. Digging and piling.
No, he used science like dictaphones, but he also would make fun, like the scientist was cutting the limb of the tree and the saw was on this side, or this substance is tasteless, odorless, and invisible. He said, what scientist tested the tasteless, the poison? So he would make fun, okay, you're the scientist, you taste this to see if it's tasteless. So, one morning I came back from one of those morning walks. And you see, oh, by the way, these photos are ones I rendered. It wasn't mentioned in the book, but so it's an art of photographing and serving at the same time. Because you're there with Prabhupada, but you're in his face photographing. So I was in the room, and a butterfly was in the room. And so he put his finger out like that. And the butterfly jumped on his finger. And that's a photograph I should have done, but I didn't want to spoil the mood because the Nikon camera was but I should have, because I did a lot of great photos with butterfly. But the real miracle is that Prabhupada, every time there was a miracle, he didn't say, look how great it is. He just had an impassive expression. The real miracle was that he said, Gurudas, open the window so that butterfly can go out and get something to eat. That's compassion. And I've got another miracle story. But
well, I think one of the best photos you ever took was that that look in Prabhupada's face when he first saw Berry Place Temple.
Definitely. That's in my new book.
This trip through London that we're on is on our way to Berry Place, and we passed, this is Oxford Street, he heard of Oxford Street. This is Piccadilly. Oh, Piccadilly. This is the British Museum, Prabhupada. And here is the temple. And I was really worried because I'd spent months building this thing and it was still unfinished. It was weeks away from being finished. So I was really worried Prabhupada was going to scold me a lot. I was in deep anxiety when I walked into that room. He had on that same pink, where I saw it in one of those photos there, that pink.
Yeah.
Where is it? Oh, the one you're just walking in Russell Square up there with
yeah.
Janaki and Tamal. That pink, soft alpaca hoodie. It was a hoodie. And he walked in the temple and he looked around. Gurudas took the picture and his eyes lit up. And he smiled. He looked like a beautiful woman almost. He was so gorgeous.
One of the best ones.
And he first he commented, it's okay, it's wonderful, it's beautiful. And then he took his cane and he started pointing out things in the construction and giving advice and asking about how it's all coming together. And just as we were finished looking at the temple room, somebody ran in with the Apple Records latest poster, the record cover, and an article in the newspaper. A full-page ad was in the newspaper, Evening Standard, one of the newspapers, full-page ad showing the devotees, the record cover of our record. And then prominent in that cover is Prabhupada's picture in front.
Yeah.
And somebody came in and said, this was in the morning paper. And Prabhupada looked at it. And then we got the idea, okay, we're doing a good job. That was the delight. That was the result and the goal of a year of extreme struggle, to see that one look on Prabhupada's face of total satisfaction.
Yeah, people say, how did you do everything? It's just we wanted to see him smile.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna,